everyone. Welcome to episode 41 of the arieknits podcast. My name is Ariel, and this is a video podcast where I talk about all of my knitting things. And I have recently, I guess at this point, maybe it's been 3 or 4 weeks spinning, and I think that's going to be a big portion or a portion of this podcast now. So knitting, spinning, lots of yarn things, and all of that good stuff. So today's video, if you saw my YouTube post and then on my Instagram last weekend, I did not have a video because I did film, but when I was editing it, there was just a lot of background noise, and it was definitely my fault. But the good thing is I feel like I didn't really have that many updates last week, so it would have been a short video anyway. So it wasn't like, anything too crazy. It's not like I was filming for hours and then, couldn't upload anything. But my dad was visiting me last weekend, and we had a great time, and so I just didn't knit as much, which is totally fine, but we had a great time, ate lots of good food, and so it was all really good. But I am happy to be back recording a video and continuing all of the knitting, all of the time, all of the spinning, and so I do have a lot of updates, I feel like, for this video. I also did post a question box on my Instagram last weekend, and also in the YouTube post, I said, you could leave a comment on questions that you wanted to leave me for this video. So I will go through the regular content for my podcast, and at the end I will be answering some questions that you all sent. So thank you for sending in the questions. I'm really excited to answer them. And yeah, so we will just get started. First off, if you've noticed, I am wearing a finished object. I wasn't sure if I would finish this for this week, but I really wanted to get it done because it's a really cute top, and I really like how it fits, and so I want to talk about it. So this is the May Drop Tee by Aimee. She is bloom.create on Instagram, bloom.create on Instagram, and I'm so happy with how this came out. So the yarn that I used for this, for the main color, I did View B, which I believe is the 2-color version of this. There is a 3-color version, which I think I might want to make in the future, but this is the 2-color version. So my main color, I use labienaimee Merino Twist in the Autumn Hydrangea colorway, which I bought from Flock, and it is La Mercerie's exclusive colorway, I believe. And then for my contrast color, I used the base is a Knit Picks Superwash Alpaca sock, and I dyed it myself, this really light pink color. So I will stand up so you can see it, because there's some amazing color work at the bottom here, which I think is really cute. The hem and the sleeves are a rolled, or I think in the sample they are more they blocked flat, but for me, because they're just stockinette, they're kind of rolling on me, but I think that's fine. So yeah, so that's kind of the bottom hem and the sleeves. It is a drop shoulder tee, and so you can see it. Correction, it is a modified drop shoulder, which is interesting. I am learning more about construction of tops and sweaters and stuff like that. So modified drop shoulder. It is worked bottom up, and so what happens is once you split, so you work bottom up, and once you split, for my size, which I made size 2, I did some increases for the sleeve here, and so there's a really just kind of short sleeve that gets picked up later. But I absolutely love how this fits and how it looks. I like the V-neck, and I like and appreciate that the V-neck isn't too deep. I feel like I always am a little worried when I knit things that are V-neck or a lower kind of scoop neck that it's going to be too low, but I love the shaping, the size of the deepness, I guess, of this V. and I think it looks really cute. Like, I am just overall very happy with how this came out. And yeah, the color work section. So I don't necessarily like working color work, but if the pattern is cute enough, then it'll get me to do it. Like, I'm not opposed to it as long as it's something that I really want. So definitely worth it. I think it's really cute. I really like how these colorways worked out together, and overall just really happy. Today's the first day that I wore the tee. Like, I put it on this morning and I'm still wearing it. Although, to be honest, it is so sunny and hot today. Like, it was cool and nice here this past week, and just today it's like really hot, and so I'm kind of sweating right now, but it's okay. At least the lighting will be good for me to show you all the stuff that I want to show you. But yeah, so this is the May drop tee. I'm very, very happy with how it came out. Final measurements I got on this is 34 inches in circumference, and so this gives me 4 inches of positive ease, and I think it is perfect. I'm very happy with the sizing that I chose for this, because I feel like I'm usually, like, I have to choose between like size 1 and 2 usually for me, and so it's either like, do I want something that might be slightly tight, or, you know, just less ease, or something that might end up with more ease. So for me, I really like this on me. I'm very happy. I just really like how this top part looks as well. I think just the how it was designed is very, very well, and it also fits me very well. So very happy with this. I do think I will make it again, and potentially even, just because I like the shape of this, I could even make this without the color work if I wanted something just like plain. So yeah, so that is the May drop tee, and I am once again very happy with how this came out. Okay, so that is what I am wearing. That is also my one finished object. Okay, so on to my works in progress, and I think for the next, I'm going to take a guess, maybe the next month or two. This will be the one that I talk about first, my big Cozy Cardi by Andrea Mowry. It's just, yeah, I'm just continuing to work on it. So here it is. Working on that big Suri collar, and where is my stitch marker? All right, my 2-week update on this is I worked maybe like an inch, maybe a little over an inch. So we're getting there. We're getting there. I think maybe 3.5 more inches to go. So honestly, if I just worked on this for like an entire weekend, I'm pretty sure I could finish the Suri collar, and then all I have left after that is the armholes, or the cuffs around the armholes, because I did not do that yet. I think if I just spent all of my knitting time on this project, I could get it done soon, but I don't want to, or I don't feel like it. Like, I'm okay with working on it in short chunks, and I think that's good enough for now. So that is what we are doing, and we'll continue to do until we are done with this. But yes, if you haven't seen me work on this before or talk about it, I am using labienaimee Merino twist in the colorway Jinju for the main color here. It is a fingering weight, light fingering weight, and then for the Suri color, I am using autumn and indigo fibers Suri silk in the colorway Rosewood. And I'm really happy with how both of these colors came out, and how they're working together. I feel like it's very me. So once again, I'm just looking forward to the finished object, but also it's so hot right now. I can't even think about really working on this. I think that's why I have not just sat down and worked on it. It's just because it's so hot, and it's so big that when I work on it and it sits on my lap, it makes me too sweaty. So that is where we're at. But I want to continue making progress, and thankfully these videos help me. I want to show you guys some progress, and so I do get to work on it a little bit every week. So that that's the big Cozy Cardi. I am using US 3 needles for this, and I am making size 1. Okay, so next is another big project that I'll just work on every so often, but it is buried under all of my stuff right now, so give me a couple seconds. Okay, so this is the Half and Half Triangles wrap by Purl Soho, and I think, oh yeah, I didn't really work on it too much. So I am done with the first color, and I'm just working on the second color. First color, the variegated yarn here is Coast to Coast. Actually, both are Coast to Coast yarn in the signature sock base, and the first color is Yucca Blossom. Okay, I've realized I was watching my friend Megan's podcast, and I think she has a different yarn called Yucca, and she said that it is pronounced Yucca, not Yucca, and I've been saying Yucca this whole time. I didn't know. So I think the right way for this one is Yucca Blossom. So there's that, always learning. And then the second color, the color I'm working on right now, or working with, is Biscuits. And I really, really like how it's coming out. I know I'm going to like it, but similar with the big Cozy Cardi, it is just so hot. And it's such a big project that just working on it, it's hard to get myself to work on it, because even if I finish it, like, I won't be able to use it or wear it because it's just too hot for it. And I'm just looking forward to colder weather so that I can work on and wear all of my really big knit projects. But yeah, I think I've only worked like six rows from the last time I've talked about it, so there is the quick update on that. And I'm also using US 3 needles for this project. Okay, we are just trying to fly through these works in progress. Next up is my Gaon Cardigan by Soomin dalbodreh on Instagram. And I am very happy about this. Okay, so I remember, because I did film last weekend, I did talk about these things, and so I'm trying to remember, like, I'll have to repeat what I said last week because the update, like, you didn't see it. So I believe last time you did see this, I needed to seam up the sides because I did finish the body for this cardigan. So I did seam up both of the sides, and I really, really appreciate the detail that went into how the sides were seamed up so that the 3x1 rib pattern would not be disrupted and it'll be continuous. And so as you can see, the seam is right down the middle here, but if you use mattress stitch, which is what the pattern suggests, like, you can't really see the seam, and I think that is really, really cool and such a nice detail. I really like how this is coming out. I think it's going to be a great cardigan to wear once it gets cold enough to wear. So I finished seaming up the sides, and then I started working on the sleeve. And the thing that I really appreciate about this pattern as well is that I was kind of scared about the fact that this was worked mostly flat in pieces. So like the two fronts were worked separate and flat, and the back was worked flat, and you had to seam the sides together. But the good thing is that you don't have to seam the sleeves to the armhole, because for me, I don't really like that. I feel like seaming up sides is okay for me to do. Like, once I get in the groove, it's kind of like, it's fine and kind of relaxing sometimes, but anything with like sleeves, I really don't like seaming sleeves. And I really don't like, I really, really don't like having to seam, like, if you have to knit the button band separately, like completely separate, and then sew it all around. I don't like that. So thankfully, for this pattern, if you're thinking about it and are worried about the seaming, the only seaming you have to do are the sides. Right? Yeah, because the button band is worked with the fronts, and then there's some special clever kind of way to join it in the back, which is really cool. the shoulders are 3-needle bind off, and the sleeves are worked in the round. So you do need to seam the sides before you knit the sleeves, but then you get to work the sleeves in the round, which I think is just, it's fine, it's good, it's worth it. So that is where I am at right now. I'm, again, just loving how it looks, and I think it's going to be a really great cardigan to have and wear, and just like easy to put over whatever. So that is the progress on that. And I am using, I did not talk about the yarn. The yarn I'm using for this is explorerknits in Denali sock base in the colorway Drift. And I'm knitting size 1, and I'm using US 4 needles for this. I do have to say, every time I knit on this and look at it, I am just really, really like this color, because sometimes it looks more blue, sometimes it looks more purple, but I just kind of really like that. So yeah, okay, so that is the Gaon Cardigan. Next up, I have lots of progress on this. I did this past week, I spent a lot of time on this project. So this is the Bestest Vest by Jamesnwatts, and I think last time I talked about it, I was still working on the body and the round, and this is worked bottom up. I feel like I've been working on a lot of bottom up patterns lately, which is interesting. I know some people really don't like bottom up patterns, and for me, it's not my preferred construction to knit. Like, I do like top down, but bottom up doesn't, really bother me too much. Again, it's like, if I really like the pattern, then I will do it. So anyway, Bestest Vest, and I split for the front and back, and I finished the front straps, I guess, or the front, which is a V-neck, and then I am working flat on the back right now. This is where the armhole is, and okay, I have to say, wait, before I talk about my comments on this, I am using, the yarn I'm using is Big Little Yarn Co. in the Superwash Merino DK base in the colorway Maggio, which is, I love this color and like this yarn so much. I think this purple just has like the best like depth of color, and like all of these, like there's some blue in there and just different like shades of purple, and it's really pretty. Like, I really, really like it. And so it's been just really fun to work on, just because I really like the yarn, and the pattern is relatively simple, and so it's been just like a nice, easy knit where I can just like enjoy the yarn, if that makes sense. So that's been great. And okay, so I am knitting size extra small. I'm using US 5 for like the ribbing, and then US 7 for the main fabric, which I believe is what the pattern states to use. And okay, I know that this pattern is oversized. It's supposed to be oversized, like not fitted, but I have checked, and I am on gauge, and all the pattern measurements. Okay, so one thing that I don't do, which maybe I should, and I would recommend you do as well if you're worried about sizing for garments, that hopefully in the pattern, like even before you buy it, hopefully that there's a schematic drawing of the pattern so that you can see all of the different like sizing for like not only the circumference, but armhole depth, or like width and length, or all of the different measurements that you would kind of need to make sure that you knit the size that you want and that will fit you the best. And I did not look at that. I just looked at the circumference and was like, I need to make the smallest size, and that'll be fine because it will be oversized anyway. And I am on gauge, and this thing is massive. So I kept checking, and I'm pretty sure, like, so far what I have knitted is to the schematic and it is huge. So like I will just stand up and you can see, so since I did finish the front and there's a v-neck, but okay, well actually let me show you what I have so far. This, I'm pretty sure this is where the shoulders are gonna be, okay? And like, this is how deep it is in the front. Like, okay, it is rolled in a little bit just because that's how it is, but it is like, and the armholes, I know this is really hard to maybe see because the back is kind of like pulling it down, but if I'm holding this up here, the armhole, it's right here. Like that's, it's huge. One thing I will say, because I'm gonna continue knitting this because there is going to be, I think, a quite large, like tall ribbing for the v-neck and for the around the armholes, and so that would close up kind of like why it looks so big. So like for the front, like I think that the ribbing might be like 2 inches, so it might be like, you know, up to here and just like 2 inches along the sides, and so that would kind of like close that up in the front. But the armhole looks huge, and this thing is going down, I think, to like my, I'm wearing shorts right now and it goes down to my shorts. So it will be interesting to see how this turns out. So I am, to be honest, I'm a little nervous about it. Like if it comes out way, way, way too big, I don't know what I'm going to do. I love the yarn. I'm hoping that it'll just be like, I won't have to wear something under it. Like I think that's kind of like how it was designed for. I guess, well, I mean, you can wear it however you would like, but if it's big and oversized, like if I wear it over like a long sleeve or even like a slightly bulkier kind of long sleeve or sweater, that would be cute. If it looks cute, I'll be fine with it, but it is coming out a lot larger than I anticipated. So I think, I mean, I can't even start the neckline ribbing yet because I need to finish the back to connect and do, you know, before I can knit around the armholes or the neck. So I will say that is the one bummer about bottom up, is you can't really do those finishings until you're done knitting the thing. So I'm going to keep going with it and we'll just see how it goes. So, and if this hasn't happened I think in a while, but for me, when I get nervous about a pattern not knitting up the way that I thought it would, or, you know, like I'm kind of nervous about the finished, how it will look in the end, I tend to work on it a lot because I just like don't want to wait super long to see how it ends up. Like I want it done now. I want to see how it's going to turn out now. So that's kind of what contributed to me working on this a lot this past week. And thankfully it is in DK weight yarn, so it is knitting up pretty fast. And so I may be working on this more this week just because I want to see how it looks with the finished like ribbing edging. But yeah, it's huge. So if you are planning on knitting this pattern, maybe check out the schematic first. Yeah, I mean, okay, I did check multiple times my measurements and it is on gauge, so I don't think it's me, but I will have to check that again later on. But yeah, that is my Bestest Vest. I just really love this yarn. I do love this yarn. I love the color. So at least it's an enjoyable knit. It's not like I'm torturing myself to knit this. I do like knitting this. I'm just a little nervous about how big it's going to turn out and how it's going to look on me. So yeah, Bestest Vest. Okay, next up is my Air Tee by Ozetta. I haven't worked on this a lot, I think in the past couple episodes I haven't talked about it, or maybe I have. No, I think it's been a while. I mean, it's not something that I've been pulling out to work on a lot, but I have made some good progress on this recently, and because, okay, a lot of the projects, well, okay, let me talk about it first, or let me show you what I have. So, Air Tea by Ozetta. Here's what I have so far, and so right now I am just working on the body, and from the last time I have talked about it, where's my stitch marker? I've worked like a decent amount of the body from here, from the stitch marker down. I think that's pretty good. I am, whoa, what am I trying to say? Okay, the yarn I'm using is Big Little Yarn Co. in the organic wool linen fingering base in the colorway Nudie Kabe, which is a blue and pink, although the pink on this base kind of shows up more as like a tan kind of color. And I think it's really cute. It's the first time I am using this yarn base, and so I'm very interested to see how it feels wearing. And I think it might be the first time I've knit using a yarn base that has linen in it, so that's also been very interesting. It's definitely not like you can tell that it's linen, if that makes sense. It's not really like stretchy, and it doesn't like hurt to knit with, but it is just like not as, I don't want to, not as soft, like not as like fluffy as like regular wool, but it's also like it's not scratchy is what I want to say. So yeah, I'm very curious to see how this feels to wear. And I am knitting size extra small. I'm using US 3 needles for this. And yeah, it's been, again, like sometimes I'm in the mood for just knitting in the round, like stockinette, and just kind of like doing that, but lately I just haven't been. And so I did bring this to a knit night, because during knit nights, like, you want to talk to everyone. You don't really want to be working on like something where you need to count, or working with like a lace chart or a cable chart or something. So I did bring this to knit night this past week so that I could work on it and get some progress done on this. I am alternating skeins for this because I think I could tell a slight difference between the skeins, so I definitely wanted to alternate skeins, and it's turning out well. It's looking good. So yeah, helical knitting in the round. Again, I just like can't believe it took me this long to figure it out and try it out, and I do really enjoy it, but it is not as mindless as if you weren't helical knitting and you were just knitting in the round. So I think that is part of the reason why I haven't been grabbing it as much, is like, even though helical knitting is fine, it makes sense and it's pretty easy, like it isn't like as mindless as just knitting and not having to think about switching up your yarn. So anyway, just wanted to show that I did make some progress on this, and we'll just keep on going. So I feel like that's all I've had to say about this one. I just felt really good that I did pick this up and work on it, because it has been a while. Okay, next up. Okay, so the next two things I have to talk about are test knits, which I know for sure one of them I haven't talked about. And I think one of them I talked about when I filmed last week, but I didn't upload the video, so I will talk about it again. Well, again for me, but first time for you guys. So first up is the test knit for Sari Nordland for the Kutar wrap. And when I saw that she was making a wrap like cardigan pattern, I was really, really excited, because I really haven't have I made a wrap cardigan yet? I have plans on making wrap cardigans, and I just don't know why I've been waiting. I might have just been waiting for the weather to get cooler to make them, but when I saw that she was coming out with a wrap cardigan, I was like, I really want to make it, and so sign up for the test. Actually, what happened was I was going to sign up for the test, and then I convinced myself out of it, because I haven't done a test knit in a while, which is kind of crazy, because I have been doing test knits for so long from when I first started doing test knits. Like I'm pretty sure like nonstop and multiple at a time, and then I just like, I don't know why, I just like stopped test knitting, but so I convinced myself out of this test knit because I was like, there's so many patterns that are already out that I want to knit, so it's fine. But then I talked about it during a knit night, and my friend Sylvan was like, oh, she saw that too, and so we ended up both signing up for this test knit. So we're both doing the test knit, but that's exciting to me. Like, it makes me feel happy. So both doing the test knit. We're actually also both making it in the same yarn, which is really fun. We're going to be matching. We're going to be twinning. So this is what I have so far. I literally just finished the body. Like, I finished the ribbing and then I started setting up to record this video today. And oh, I didn't even say, I usually say what day it is. It is Saturday, September 2nd, on the day that I'm filming this. But yeah, so I finished the body for this, the Kutar wrap, and the fuzzy pink. So the yarn I am using is Explorerknits Denali sock with the Suri Alpaca base. So I'm holding those two together, and they're both in the colorway Gum Wall, which is one of the Seattle tonal colors. And after knitting this up, I was like, oh, I should have gotten more Gum Wall because the pink is really, really cute. This Suri is really, really cute. So I do have them here so you can see them. Look how cute it is in the Suri. I mean, it's also cute in the Denali sock base, but the Suri is really cute, and so I kind of wish I got another sweater quantity of Suri, even though I really don't need it, so it's probably good that I don't, but it's so cute. I'm so happy with how this came out, or yeah, how it looks so far. The Kutar wrap uses the same like lace pattern as all of the other Kutar like top sweater other patterns that Merino has, but for this the lace panels just go down the front and it'll eventually like wrap like this and have a tie around. So yeah, and it's also long sleeves, so now I will need to pick up for the sleeves and work on the sleeves, but it's going to be a really cute, warm, fuzzy, soft, squishy wrap top, and so I'm very excited about that. And what else? I am knitting size 1, and I'm using US 6 needles for this. I was very happy that the needle size for this would be larger than a US 3 because I feel like the rest of my projects all are using like US 3 needles pretty much. So yeah, I really do like how this is coming out, and it makes me very happy. Love that. Yeah. Okay, so that is my first test knit, and then I signed up for a second test knit. I probably shouldn't have signed up for this test knit, but I did anyway. I feel like I wouldn't have if the timeline for this one wasn't, I think this one's due sometime in November, so I feel like it's a lot more doable. If it was earlier than November, I probably would have passed on it. But this is a test knit of the, oh, I was going to look up how to pronounce this. So I thought, I was calling it Ashling, but I think in the pattern, like at the top, it said how to pronounce it, like it's, and I think it's Ashling is how I read it, so I'm not sure, but I do have it written in the description below if you want to take a look at it. It is a pattern by Maddie Moe, and she is a designer that I did not follow her on Instagram before, but one of my friends shared that there was a test knit for the sweater. I thought it was really cute. Also, some of her other patterns are also really cute, and so now I have even more patterns that I want to make. So there's that. But I am testing the Ashling or Ashling sweater, and it is a Suri single strand sweater. And so there may be a lot of knitting for this sweater, but I'm very excited because I don't think I've knit a sweater with a single strand of Suri. So this should be pretty interesting. and it has a split hem, which is really cute. It's worked bottom up. It's another bottom up pattern. Like, a lot of things are bottom up that I've been making lately. And the yarn I am using for this is Woolberry Fiber Co., the Berry Suri base. This is the, I don't know how long I'm going to have to like say this, but recently-ish, Woolberry changed her Berry Suri base from it used to be like 300 something yards, and now it is like over 400 yards in one skein. And so this is the older base of the Berry Suri. They're both called Berry Suri. That's why she didn't change the name of it. But yeah, so just letting you know, this is the old Berry Suri base by Woolberry in the colorway Hello Autumn. And so you can't really see the colorway that well yet, just because I don't have too much of this, but I am working on the front bottom hem right now. So this is how much I have, and let's see. Okay, I did grab a skein of this so you can see what it looks like in the skein. When I got this colorway, I got it in multiple bases. So I did use the Berry Natural base of this colorway in my, oh my gosh. It is like my all-time favorite shawl. It is by Bridget. Oh, the Lo-Fi shawl. I used this colorway in the Berry Natural base for my Lo-Fi shawl. So now I'm using the Suri. And I just really like how, I just like this color, and I also like how muted like the golden tones are in like the natural base and also now on the Suri. And so you can see how it's skeined up. Like, it's just really like subtle, but still just like it has interest in the color. So yeah, I guess if I show this, it's maybe hard to see in the camera, but up close you can see like those golden bits kind of showing through, and so I think it's going to look really pretty in a whole sweater, and it's going to be very cozy. So so this is my second test knit. I am knitting size 1, no, I am knitting size 2, which is the 36-inch size, and I did have to size down my needles from the recommended needle size. And so right now for the ribbing, I'm using US 2.5 for this. And I think, yeah, it will be fine. Very excited about it. It'll be a lot of knitting. So I do want to make sure that I give this some attention up until I'm done knitting it. So yeah, so that is my second test knit. That is the last like new cast on of the last 2 weeks, and yeah, I'm really excited to be working with Suri again. I feel like because I love Suri, but during the summer I think it was just really hot, and so I didn't really have too much interest in knitting up Suri sweaters, but now I just want to knit all the Suri sweaters. So that's been fun. Alright, so now on to my spinning, because I have been spinning a lot. It is so much fun. I still don't really know what I am doing, to be honest, but I am liking the results so far. I haven't knit with any of my hand spun yet, so I think that's something I'm going to do later today. So we'll see how it turns out and what I decide to knit with my hand spun. My first knit with my hand spun. I'm so excited. So, but anyway, I have not knit with my hand spun yet, but I've been spinning a lot, so I can show you what I have finished and what I'm working on for my spinning. Okay, I have a couple things. So first off, I finished a spin, my first, okay, how do I say? Okay, so last time I think that we talked, I was working on a spin using Polworth fiber from 316 Dye Studio in the Desert Rose colorway, or are they still called colorways for dyed fiber? And I finished it, and so I can show you my little big chunky skein here of my, and this is like, so my this is my third ever spin, and so when I spun my singles for this, it was on my electric eel wheel nano, which is like the small electric spinner. And actually, yes, an update on that is that I knew, this was like 2 or 3 weeks after I started spinning, I already knew that I love spinning and I wanted to invest in a bigger spinner because I just knew I needed a bigger spinner so that I could like spin everything, because my first spin was like something small because I wanted to sample and learn how to spin singles and to ply. And then the next one I finished spinning like a whole braid, which I think was 4 ounces, and when I plied it I did have to split it into 3 small skeins because they didn't all fit on one bobbin, and so I wanted to get a bigger spinner. And so I was talking to my friend Bridget, who is the one who taught me how to spin in the first place at Flock, and she recommended some e-spinners for me. And the eventual goal is I want to get an actual like big wheel where you like use your feet to move the wheel and stuff. And so I could have invested in like a really nice e-spinner, or well, I don't want to say like, there's a lot of nice e-spinners, and the one that I got is nice, but it is on the cheaper side. So I did end up getting the electric eel wheel 6.0, which is the same, it's the same brand e-spinner of the nano that I had. It's just a bigger version, and so I will show it to you later. But I ended up getting the bigger one so that I had bigger bobbins to spin stuff on. And so this is my first actual like full skein, which I'm really excited about. So this was 4 ounces. And yeah, I do not know what weight this is. I feel like it could be a fingering or a sport, maybe, or hoping. Don't know if I spun them, you know, small enough, I guess, but I think it could be. I don't think, it might be too small to be a DK, but it also could be a DK. I have no idea. One thing I also bought was the electric eel wheel like counter to calculate yardage. And so when I did use that for this, although this was before I washed it, and I heard or read that washing it does kind of like shrink that, so the yardage might be smaller now. But when I did use it before I washed it, it was at like, I think 600 yards. So still don't really know what that means for me and my spinning, but that's something. When I wind this up to use it, I will count the yardage again to see kind of like how it changed after washing, which will be also interesting to see how that works. And yeah, so this is my Polworth Desert Rose spin, and I really like how it turned out. It's really, really cool. And it's so fluffy and squishy. Like, I really like how it feels. So I'm really excited about this. And yeah. Okay, so that is my first finished object spin for this video. And because I have a second finished spinning project. So after that project, I wanted to spin something again, obviously, and so I had a braid of Targi, also from 316 Dye Studio. Both of these I got from Flock Fiber Festival, so I've just been like going through all of the fiber that I bought from Flock, and this was in the color Garden Meadow, which was like a green and purple, green and pink color with some cream in there as well, and I finished it and it came out so nice. I really like how these colors came out. Oh, and also I still don't know how to talk about spinning stuff, so apologies if I am wrong about certain things or say things really weirdly, but also let me know how to say certain things if I'm saying it wrong. But both of these I did a fractal spin, and so I split the fiber in half. First, I spun one of the halves as is, and then the other half I split into 4 and then spun those consecutively. So I did that for both of these in the same way. And for this one, I wanted to try and spin something a little thicker to see how that would turn out. And I was really concerned about just like, I think my natural, or like if I'm not thinking too hard, I think my natural spinning like size ended up like whatever weight this one is. So I wanted to spin something a little larger, and I was really worried about it looking super inconsistent because when I was spinning the singles for it were really some thin spots, some really thick spots, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's gonna turn out horrible. But I actually think it turned out fine in the end, and I do like how this turned out. Like, I'm really, really happy with this. So I also already finished washing this as well, and I did measure it before washing because I measure it as I'm like winding it up into the hank, and I think it is definitely thicker. And I got, so this is 4 ounces, and I got, I think 200 something yards. So it is less yardage, which I think means it's thicker. And it also is visibly looks thicker. So I don't know, again, what weight this is, but I'm very happy to see that it came out okay. Again, I was very worried about it looking really like thin and chunky in lots of places, but I'm very happy with how this came out. And yeah. Oh, the other thing too is it felt very different working with the Targhee versus the Polworth. And so one thing that's really fun lately with my spinning is I have been just trying to spin different fibers for like each of my spins so that I can just kind of like get a sampling of all the different fibers. So Polworth, I really like spinning with. I think I would say, so my first 2 spins were with BFL, and I think they were fine, but I did like working with Polworth. And then Targhee, I also, felt different. I think the fiber felt more like stretchy and stringy and kind of like stuck together more. So in the beginning, I did not know how to deal with it. I was like, I don't know what's happening. Like, it was just very, it's not sticky, but it was just like pulling it was like the fiber stuck together. To me, at least, it seemed like that's what was happening. But after a while, I actually really liked spinning with the Targhee because nothing felt like it was going to come apart too much. Like, if I accidentally, like, pulled the fiber apart too much, I don't know, it didn't happen too often with the Targhee. So it was actually quite fun to work with. I like both. Yeah. I want to knit with them too, so that I can, because I feel like the experience of knitting with it may also be different than how I felt spinning with it, or just like, the whole spinning it, then knitting it process with the different fibers will be kind of like something cool to note about how I feel about it. So yeah, so this is my second finished object of the past 2 weeks for my spinning. They make me so happy, and they're so cute. So that's been really fun. Okay, and then I have a work in progress for my spinning, and so this one I'm using, this is going to be a nice transition into acquisitions because this is some fiber that I acquired recently, and I've already started spinning with it. So I will show you what I have so far. This is my first bobbin of this, and this is Bella Filato Studio Fibers Corriedale fiber in the colorway Sand Dunes. Again, I feel like it's a very me kind of colorway. It almost looks too similar to my other ones, but it's different. It's different. I feel like this one, I mean, I don't know how it will look once I'm like finished applying, but like it's more peachy than my other ones. I feel like they leaned a lot more purple. And then my other one I just showed was green, and so this one just has more peach and gray in it, although it's still kind of purpley as well. But yeah, So that's what I have so far. This was like 1/2. I'm also doing a fractal spin for this one as well. And so this is 1/2. And then I have the other half here. So I can just show you. I mean, it's just, this is my new spinner, my new e-spinner, electric eel wheel 6.0. And I've been really liking it. So yeah, so this is what I am working on right now, is this spin. Okay. Yeah, and I've just been really enjoying it. Okay, so moving on to acquisitions. I have a lot of fiber because last week I was going to talk about my fiber acquisitions, and since the video didn't happen, I will talk about it again now. And I also got some new fiber this week as well, so it's just very fiber heavy acquisitions, so get ready. Oh, there's also some yarn. But okay, first off, I want to say, one of my friends from Knit Night is Emily Curtis, and I feel like you probably all know her. She has her own YouTube podcast, knitting podcast, Gently Chaotic Knits, and she is so lovely, and I'm so happy that I became friends with her this past year. And she posted that she is moving away from Seattle and doing some traveling, and so she used to work at La Mercerie, which is the yarn store on Bainbridge Island here in Seattle. And so on her last day working there, our other friend Sylvan went to La Mercerie, and they are so sweet. They both FaceTimed me, we video chatted, so that because La Mercerie started selling fiber and like spinning stuff in store only, so not online yet, but they were at the store, and I wanted some fiber, and so we FaceTimed so that I could. It was like a virtual shopping session, which was just so sweet of them to do for me. And they showed me the fiber, and so they bought me some fiber during that time. And so I have since gotten it. One of them is the one that I just showed you my current spin on, but I can show you how it looks in the bag. So this is the Bella Filato Studio Fibers Corriedale Sand Dunes. It looks really cute in a braid, I think. I don't know if, yeah, one of my bags, so this bag, I got 2 of these, 4 ounces each, and so this one came in a braid, the other one was not in a braid, but I think it's really cute in the braid. So this was one of the ones that I got from La Mercerie, and then the plan for this, I actually have a project plan for this fiber, and so I will be joining Emily and Maya. They're both going to spin yarn to make a cinnabar shawl, and I was like, I want to join too. And so the only thing though is that they're going to spin all of the yarn for their cinnabar shawl, and for me, I am just spinning my contrast color. But I did get my main color from La Mercerie as well, and so for my main color to go with this, I got some dreareneeknits Ulyss, and yeah, I think it'll look good. Like, I really just kind of want the main color to be, the contrast color, my hand spun, to be like the main thing, and so really kind of just like natural, plain looking main color will be good. And Emily helped pick this out for me, so thank you so much. And so yeah, so this is a yarn acquisition I got. And then yeah, so that is the plan for that. I am planning on making a cinnabar shawl with some of my hand spun, and to be matching with Emily and Maya. So I'm really excited for that. And the cinnabar shawl is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. I will say, ever since I started spinning, I've been looking at Andrea Mowry patterns in kind of like a whole new a whole new way because she also does a lot of spinning and she knits with her spun yarn. And a lot of her patterns also like are really good for using your hand spun yarn with. And so I've been looking through all of her patterns and just like adding things to like my favorites on Ravelry just for like project planning and stuff. So it's been really fun. So yeah, and then another thing I got from La Mercerie was this Hedgehog Fibers fiber. I think it's like just a mix of a whole bunch of stuff, but the colors just make me so happy. It's just like a whole rainbow of stuff. And I didn't realize, but it makes a lot of sense that it's just, let me open this. It's just like a whole bunch of like small pieces in this bag. So yeah, it's just a whole mix of stuff, I think. And I think that's really fun. Don't know what I'm going to do with this or how I'm going to spin it, but I think Emily also got a bag of this, and so if we could do something matching, that'd be really cute. I just have no idea what yet, but yeah, I will just keep staring at this until some kind of inspiration comes along for what we can spin and then knit with for this. So yeah, so that was my little acquisitions from La Mercerie. Lots of fiber. And then I have even more fiber because, okay, since I know I love spinning, I have subscribed to the Nest Fiber like monthly subscription thing for fiber, and I haven't gotten one of the, when I signed up, what am I trying to say? So I haven't gotten like one of the monthly fiber yet, but once I signed up because I knew I wanted the monthly stuff, but also because there were some like leftovers from previous months that were on sale only for club members, and so I wanted to sign up and buy some of these extras because they were so cute. Okay, so it looks so good. I love the colors for this. So this is from the July club, or the July month. The colorway is Clementine, and I just look at that. It's so good. I think I don't really have more to say besides like it's gorgeous, and I really like it. So I had to get a bag of this, and then I also got, okay, I really love this one, and so I ended up getting 2 bags of this. This is from April this year. Oh, okay, so this one's from April. The colorway is Paper Kites, and it's so pretty. Like, I really like all of these colors together. It's so pretty. And this one is super fine merino, and then this one is Falkland merino. So again, both of these are different fibers that I haven't tried to spin with yet. And so I'm just overall just like really just give me all of the different fibers right now so that I can learn how to spin with the different kinds of fiber. So also I have not tried to spin with merino yet, and so I'm kind of just like holding on to these merino for after I spin more things, because I heard merino might be a little more difficult, but I am very excited to eventually spin with it. Yeah, I've just been like putting my hands in these and just kind of like squishing the fiber just because it's really fun. But yeah, look how amazing these colors are from Nest Fiber. Amazing. I've been like obsessed over their Instagram, like just scrolling through all of the previous colorways, and they all look so good. So I'm really excited to be subscribed. And I think that if I get one per month, I could spin that within the month, is what I'm telling myself. So I could cancel if I end up getting too much fiber and I can't spin it all, but I do think it's doable for me to spin that much. Okay, and then I think the last acquisition I have is this. Okay, so this is the Woolberry Fiber Co. Rewind from the Rewind collection. I don't know what month. It must have been last month or the month before that. And this is the colorway Seashore. And I got this on the Berry Natural base because I really, really like Woolberry's natural base. And so when a colorway comes out and I like how it looks on the natural, just because sometimes colorways can look very different on the natural base versus like the Superwash bases. So when I like it on the natural, I definitely like grab it on the natural just because I really like how this feels. And I do really like how this blue looks. It has a lot of like depth to it. I feel like I've been saying that a lot with the yarns lately, but it really is a nice teal blue muted colorway, and I really like it. I got 2 skeins of this so that I could make some kind of like tank top or t-shirt with it. Should be enough skeins for that. So yeah, okay. Now I think we're done with the acquisitions. Okay, and then one fun thing I want to mention before we get into the Q&A. Me and my friend Megan, who also has a YouTube knitting podcast on YouTube. She is a Naughty Mess on YouTube, also on Instagram, so definitely check her out. So we are in the same knitting group and we're friends, and we decided together we wanted to knit the Friendship Pullover by Aimee Sure, and we thought that it'd be really fun to do just a really like casual, informal knit along. Like, there won't be like prizes or anything, but it's just if you want to like knit something together with us, or knit the Friendship Pullover together with us, that'll be just really fun. And just, again, really casual. Like, you don't have to finish it in the same timeline as us because it's going to be pretty quick, just because we have a lot of test knits that we have due and stuff. So we just kind of want to, but it's something we want to knit together and at the same time. So what am I trying to say? Okay, so in the description, there is a link to the pattern if you haven't seen it before. Again, it's a pattern by Aimee Sure, and I think that it came out during Flock Fiber Festival because Aimee Sure was there. And so it was kind of like part of the Flock Fiber Festival like thing, like friendship and everyone. And so want to make the Friendship Pullover. I have yet to get yarn for this pullover, though I think I've finally decided what I'm going to make it with. So I am planning on buying yarn from La Mercerie. I think I am going to use, it's between the Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino and the dreareneeknits Gilead yarn, because I've worked with both and I really like it, and I think gauge-wise it should work for this pullover, and so I just need to pick which one. I think I might go with the Knitting for Olive. Then I need to pick a color. So I don't know yet, but I will buy it soon because me and Megan are planning to start September 15th and hopefully to finish on October 20th. So yeah, more details. I think Megan talks about it more on her podcast episode about this. I have yet to watch through her video, but I do think she talks more about it, so definitely check her video out. And we will also have a hashtag, an Instagram hashtag for this. So it is PKW Friendship Cal, K-A-L, and PKW for Pacific Knit West, because that is what our knitting group calls ourselves, Pacific Knit West. I think it's really cute. So there will be a hashtag for this knit along. Again, it will be a very casual, just like, even if you just like swatch. And again, you don't have to finish the pullover. But if you want to join us, feel free. I think it'll be really fun. And I just really have been enjoying like planning and doing like matching knits, even if it's like, I'm trying to think, like, I think my first kind of like matching knit was the Pike Place, explorerknits Pike Place yarn that our knitting group got and like made stuff with for Flock, but it was all like we made different patterns, but I don't think I've made like a matching pattern yet. I feel really bad if I have this wrong. Like, did I? But anyway, I'm really excited to have like a matching, make the same pattern with someone. So, and I'm also doing this with my test knit, which I said before with my friend Sylvan. So I'm just really excited about it. There's something about knitting matching things with your knitting friends, which is really fun. So very excited. There's a lot of future matching knits that are coming up, and I love it so much. It makes me very happy. So yeah, there will be a friendship pullover knit along, real casual, with me and Megan. So feel free to join if you'd like. And then, okay, now onto our Q&A. I will be looking at the questions like on my computer on the side here, and so I don't really have an order on how I'm going to answer these, and so hopefully it's still interesting to hear. So I am going to start. I got a couple questions on the YouTube like post that I made, and so I will probably start there first. Let's see if I can even like pull this up. Okay. Okay, comments. Okay, so let's start here. So I have one that says, congratulations on the 1-year podcast anniversary. Oh, yes. The reason why I did this Q&A was because I have now officially, it's been, I think, a couple weeks since, but this YouTube knitting podcast has been up for a year, and I've been doing it for a year, and it's just been so fun. I had no idea if I was going to, like, how long I was going to be doing it, but it's just, the community's so great, and so I thought it'd be fun to do a Q&A for the 1-year anniversary. So yeah, so thank you. And okay, so this person says, my question for the Q&A. What do you wish you had learned sooner in knitting, and what's a knitting technique you haven't tried but want to in the future? Okay, something that I wish I'd learned sooner, maybe, okay, so I guess, one thing I can think of is how to, maybe like knitting cables without a cable needle, maybe. That might seem kind of like not one of the first things that you'd want to like, it's not like something I wish I'd learned sooner in like the beginning parts of my knitting, because it is kind of like, it's totally fine to learn cables with a cable needle, especially if you are learning it for the first time. But I do think I was far enough into like knitting with cables that I definitely could have learned knitting cables without a cable needle earlier on, just to make some of the knitting a lot faster with cables. So I guess that's one thing that I can think of right now. Maybe I have a better answer later. I should have honestly wrote down maybe some of my answers for this, but also I figured a more like candid response for these might be more fun and honest, or, you know, I don't know. I guess I'm also, anyway, I will try and answer these the best I can. But yeah, maybe knitting cables without a cable needle. And then a knitting technique I haven't tried but I want to learn. Okay, there is definitely one technique that I want to learn, and it just like hasn't happened yet. I want to learn how to steek. And if you don't know what steeking is, I actually don't even know how to maybe describe it well, but it's a technique where you like cut your knitting. Mostly I think it's used for when you do color work in the round, and like if you want to make a color work cardigan, which cardigans are usually worked flat, but color work, doing it flat is like really difficult or just like really like annoying. And so I think a lot of times if there's like an entire cardigan with color work, you actually work it in the round, and then at the end you cut, like with scissors, you cut it in the center so that it can open up. And that seems really terrifying to me, like cutting up your knitting, because like once you cut it, if you do it, I just feel like if you do it wrong, then everything you've knit is just like destroyed, like it's gone. So it kind of scares me. But the real reason that I haven't tried steeking yet is because I haven't come across a pattern that requires steeking that I want to make yet. And so I because it just seems so time consuming, like also because I don't really like color work, I don't want to force myself to learn a technique making something that I don't really like. And so there just hasn't been a pattern that has come across where I'm like, oh, I really want to make that, and then it's like, oh, I need to steek it. So I think once I see a pattern that I really want to make that requires steeking, that I will do it then, but I'm not going to force the technique on myself if there's not a pattern that requires it, if that makes sense. But steeking is a technique that I do want to learn in the future. Okay, next question. Congrats on 1 year. I really enjoy your podcast. Oh, that's so nice. Okay. My question is, what is your favorite yarn quality to knit with? And what is your favorite quality to shop for if they're different? Okay, so what do I really like to work with? Well, okay, I really like Suri. I love Suri so much. But I don't know that if it's like, I feel like it's not, okay, I love Suri, but it's definitely not something that I want to knit like everything with, if that makes sense. Like, I do, like the top I have right now, I really like it, and it's not something I maybe want to do in Suri, if that makes sense. So any pattern that requires Suri or can use Suri, love. Like, I love a good like cumulus blouse made with Suri. Like, I really like that. So I think I would say Suri is my favorite yarn to knit with, and that I like to buy, especially because usually Suri, like for variegated colorways, just have a really nice like watercolor kind of like effect with them, and it just makes it a lot softer and more blended. And so I really do like shopping for Suri and knitting with Suri. But if we're not talking about fluffy yarn, I really like, well, I guess I don't buy enough of this, but I just talked about Woolberry's Very Natural base. I really like it. Like, I think as far as like the feel of it, I think I like it better than the Superwash Merino base. Yeah. It's just that sometimes the colorways don't take in the same way, and if I don't really like it on the natural base, then I'll buy it on the Superwash Merino base. But I just texture alone, I like the Very Natural base from Woolberry, which is if you don't know, is a non-superwash base. It's just really soft. And it is, okay, so I know this wasn't quite in the question, but I know some people have a preference between like 2-ply or 4-ply yarn, and I actually don't really mind too much, but I do actually, like, I can't really tell a difference if I'm going to be honest, but there's something about the 2-ply fingering weight that is like 400 yards for 400 grams. Like, I like the plumpness of this yarn. Can't really like describe it or explain it, but I do like it. So I know I'm just like holding this up, but I do like the Very Natural base from Woolberry, just going off of feel alone. And then I guess my third choice after that would be like a Superwash Merino base. I think that's pretty standard. Yeah, don't know if that was interesting, but yeah, Suri, and then the Very Natural base, the non-superwash from Woolberry. I do think that, I don't know what other yarn dyers use for a non-superwash, just because some other yarn dyers, I think more hand-dyed yarn dyers are using non-superwash now. I don't know what kind of base they're using, but this one is a 20.5 micron merino, and I do like this a lot. And then third after that, I like just a good old Superwash Merino base. Okay, I hope that answered that question. Okay, and then next question. Everyone says so many nice things. Hey, congrats on 1 year. But the next question is, do you have a dream knitting project, like a technique or or sweater or top that you want to make in the future but aren't ready to start on, either waiting for the right yarn or technique or skill. So again, for the technique, like steeking is something I want to do, just there hasn't been a pattern that I've come across that requires it. As far as like projects, like there's so many projects that I want to make. There is one sweater that I have been wanting to make. I do have yarn for it. I just like haven't cast on yet, and I don't know when. It is the Eun sweater. I forget who the designer is, but it is EUN sweater, and Bethany from Woolberry talks about it a lot. Like I think every time she has pattern recommendations for her yarn, she's like, this sweater, and she's made it. It's really cute. It pretty much looks like, you know, a normal sweater, but it has a really split hem, but the split kind of goes up really high, and so yeah, so the split is really high, but it's long. So the hem from the split is really long and it's ribbed in that really long hem, and it's really, really cute and it looks really cozy, and so I want to make that. I could see myself making multiples of that. Something I want to make, just haven't yet. And I feel like there's probably other things I want to make, but I can't think of yet. Maybe I should look at like my Ravelry, which I have open here. Honestly, there's a lot of, now that I spin yarn, there's a lot of Andrea Mowry patterns that I want to make with hand spun yarn, but I guess nothing really stands out to me right now. But yeah, I feel like there is something that I just can't think of right now that I am like dying to make and I just haven't made yet. But that the Eun sweater, I do want to make that. Yeah, okay. Let me go back to the questions here. Next question. Okay, I need to find my tab. Okay. Where do you see yourself next in your knitting journey? Would you ever want to design your own patterns or sell yarns? Okay, this question is very interesting because, yes, okay. As far as my knitting journey, recently the spinning has been kind of like my next step, the next thing that I'm doing. But as far as like other things, I've had thoughts about designing my own patterns. I do have like some ideas for patterns, but they kind of just, I know that I will need to spend a lot of time learning how to grade patterns, and I think just right now with the time that I have to spend on like work, knitting, and my other hobby, ice skating, I don't really have the time right now. Like I'd rather just spend the time knitting and spinning, so I don't see making patterns happening in the super near future, but it is something that I have thought about and I have ideas. So it's a maybe. And then sell yarn. Okay, if you've watched some of my previous videos, you'll know that I have started experimenting with dyeing some yarn, and I do have dreams of selling yarn, selling hand-dyed yarn, and so that is something that I really want to do next. I just want to make sure that I get it right before selling them, and so I just still have a lot of experimenting to do, but it's all just like right now just like really fun to do, and so I'm just like doing it. Want to make the yarn in colors that I really like before trying to figure out how to sell them and if anyone would be interested, but it is something that I'm thinking about and I think would be really fun. So yeah, selling hand-dyed yarn I think would be something that comes up sometime in the future for me. So yeah, so that's pretty exciting. Also, now that I'm spinning, like dyeing some fiber, I want to try and dye some fiber. I think that'll also be really fun. So I haven't done that yet, but I think I'm going to try and do that soon so that I can try to spin with it too. Yeah, okay. Next question, how long have you been knitting? Okay, so the first time I've actually ever knitted was back when I was in 3rd grade, and it think one of those like Scholastic book like magazine things. Like there was like a knitting kit. I don't know why I gravitated towards it, but I have always been like as a kid like really into arts and crafts, and so maybe that's why. But there was like a knitting kit, and then I wanted it, and then I remember learning how to knit with it. And I knit pretty much. I don't know. I remember knitting in elementary school. I made some big things. Like I made a lot of bags. I didn't make sweaters just because I lived in Hawaii, so it's too hot for that. But I did make like a lot of bags. I remember learning how to felt things and make like felted bags. I knit some like socks. I think I've knit like a cardigan, or a couple of them. And so I did knit and crochet when I was in elementary school, and then I kind of stopped once, like I think middle school and high school, because I was in band. I played flute, and then music just became my life through middle school, high school, and college. So music was just kind of like my thing. Didn't think about knitting until 2020 happened, and I saw that people were picking up knitting because they're staying at home and wanted to do something, and I was like, oh, like I used to knit, and maybe I'll try and pick it back up. Seems fun. And then ever since then, since 2020, I have not stopped knitting since then. And so, yeah, so I already kind of knew the basics. I just needed to, remind myself. But I think my hands almost, remembered how to do it, or at least the basic concepts. And so, yeah, it was just really fun to pick back up in 2020. And, yeah, I will say I did change how I knit. I used to knit, I think it's called English style, where you have the yarn in your right hand. And then I learned how to do continental knitting because I heard that it was faster. And so that is something I learned to do, I think, either towards the end of 2020 or maybe in 2021. Yeah. So I guess now, I don't know if I would even count my elementary school knitting time. So as far as how long I've been knitting, I guess it's been 3 years now of really, really serious knitting. Yeah. It's been really fun. I can't believe it's been that long already, too. Okay, and then the last question from the YouTube section. You mentioned you finished your master's degree. What is your degree? And you also said you work from home. What sort of profession are you in? Does it allow for you to knit while you're working? Yeah, so I did finish my master's degree, and it is in computer science. And so I also do work from home. I do work in tech here in Seattle, so I do cybersecurity. I think that's safe to say. And yeah, because I do work from home, I do knit during lunchtime. So as far as I know, that there are questions from Instagram that ask about how long I knit, and so it is nice that without the commute going into the office, there is just adds those couple more hours that would have been me commuting to work, where now I can knit at home, and so that's really nice. But yeah, I do work in tech here in Seattle. Okay, next, moving on to questions from Instagram. If I can just pull them up. I did have to take, okay, this was the first time that I pulled up, or not pulled up, what would I say? I did a question box on Instagram. So, yeah, very interesting to see how it all looked and worked out. So, okay, there's some questions here. I think some would be same questions or similar, so I'll try to do those really quickly, but let's start with, okay, oh, where do I start? Okay. I don't know. Okay, so let's start with, how do you find time to get so much knitting done each week? Okay, so I just knit in all of my free time, pretty much. I don't have any obligations really besides like myself, because I don't have kids. I don't have kind of like those kind of obligations. I am just kind of like, I live here with my boyfriend, and so we both work from home, so pretty much any free time I have is when I knit. And so pretty much lunchtime, I will sometimes knit during my lunchtime, and then after work I will just knit for the rest of the night before going to sleep. And so that's that. And also on the weekends, I really don't have any other activities that I do on the weekends, so pretty much the entire Saturday and Sunday I am knitting. And I wake up very early because my one other hobby that does take up time is ice skating. And so, but when I skate, it is during the weekdays before work. So that is kind of like my morning. And because I want to, make sure I stay on like a waking up early kind of schedule, I do wake up early on the weekends as well. And by early, I mean like between 5:30 and 6 a.m. or between 5 and 6. And so sometimes I am knitting from like 5:30 in the morning until like I eat breakfast. And then I knit again until lunch. Then I knit again until dinner. And then I knit until I go to sleep. So the weekends are really when I get a lot of my knitting done. So all of my free time is knitting, pretty much. I like to stay indoors. I don't go out and do hikes. Like I don't do that. And so knitting is kind of just my main hobby and what I spend all of my free time on. Okay, so next question. How do you choose the next pattern to cast on? This one is kind of hard to answer because I feel like there's kind of like two, I have thought about this when I saw this question, and I think there's like kind of two ways that I choose the next pattern. One is like yarn related. If I am just like dying to use a certain yarn that I either like just got in the mail or like just bought or something, I will just either find a pattern, or if I had a pattern planned for it, I will just cast it on right away. Once it comes in the mail, I might just cast it on right away because I'm really excited about the yarn. Or sometimes it is more pattern related. So if there's like a new pattern that comes out and I am just like, I need to make it as soon as it comes out, I think this one is a lot more rare. I think for me it's definitely more of like a yarn related cast on where I want to work with a certain yarn. But sometimes there's a pattern where I'm like, I want to make that now, as soon as it comes out and is available. Because a lot of designers do have, they do test knit calls, and so that there's a pattern that's going to come out and you get to see it before it comes out. And so sometimes I am just kind of like waiting for a pattern to come out, and then when it does, I'll cast that on. But for me, it's definitely more like yarn motivated, I guess, if that makes sense. What's your favorite yarn that you have in your stash? Okay. Favorite yarn, I think, should I look in my stash right now and come back? Okay, if you don't know, if you're new to watching my videos, a lot of my yarn, majority of the yarn in my stash is hand-dyed yarn, and that's just because I really, really like hand-dyed yarn, and I love just like supporting hand-dyed yarn businesses and just like love the people who run them. And so hand-dyed yarn is just my favorite thing. So my favorite yarn that I have in my stash, I will say, although would this count, I haven't worked with it yet. I have, from Flock Fiber Festival, I bought my first Moondrake yarn, and it is in the Fua base. And I am so excited to knit with that because it is the softest thing ever. And so would that count as right now? I think that's the one that I can think of that I am just like, might be one of my favorites. But I also haven't knit with it yet, so I don't know. But it is so soft, and I can't wait to knit with it. So I'll call that my answer for that question. Next, what is a project you'd love to make but are nervous to? I feel like, could I use the same answer for like like any kind of steeked project. But also there's not one specific one that I'm thinking about and that I'm nervous to yet. So maybe another one, actually lately, there's projects that I want to knit with my handspun, and I have now like a few skeins of handspun yarn that I can knit with and I want to, but I have been putting it off because I'm a little nervous to knit them. So, but I think that's more of just because I'm just nervous because of the unknown of knitting with handspun. But I heard that it is amazing, and so I will probably do it this weekend. But I have been a little nervous about knitting with my handspun. So maybe that answers that question. How many hours a week do you spend knitting? Okay, so I have tried to calculate this in terms of like, I think on weekdays I get in maybe 4 hours of knitting every weekday. And then on weekends, I mean, if it's all day, it's gotta be more than 12 hours? It's probably more than 12 hours every weekend, so I can try and add that up. I almost don't want to do it myself because it's probably going to be a lot of hours of knitting, but I will break it up that way. I think I get about 4 hours of knitting every weekday, and then it's just all day on Saturday and Sunday if I don't have anything on those days. Okay, how do you pick the designs you want to make, and how long is that list? Okay, this list is very long. It is very, very, very long. I keep track of the designs I want to make in two places. One is like my Instagram saved section, just because a lot of the times when I'm looking for new patterns, I just follow a lot of knit designers and just other knitters on Instagram, and so when they post things, I think it's really convenient to just save it on Instagram. So that's where like one of my lists lives, and then sometimes it'll overlap with my favorites on Ravelry, but sometimes I will just go into Ravelry and just like favorite patterns that I want to make, just so that it's easily like right there, so that when I'm ready to make it, that I can just click it there and get the pattern through there. But yeah, those are kind of where my two lists are, and they are very long and they keep on growing, but it's, you know, really fun to kind of just occasionally look through my entire list and see which ones I want to make next. And as far as like picking which ones I want to do, again, I think it's very like yarn related. So if usually since a lot of the time when I buy yarn, it is from a collection, like a pre-order collection, and I do try to do project planning. And so by the time I get the yarn in the mail, I already have ideas for the yarn and pattern like combination, and so sometimes I'll just pick the one that I'm feeling the most gravitated towards when I see the yarn for the first time in person. That if there's one where I'm like, oh my gosh, it looks so good in person, that I'll just like cast on that one. Or like it could be like seasonal, so like during the summer I'll just make a lot more tank tops and t-shirts. Once it gets cold, I might just be like, boom, I just want to make a sweater. Like once it gets cold, I'm like, give me all the sweaters. Like give me all the Suri sweaters. I have a lot of Suri in my stash, and so I might just end up, once it gets cold enough here, like it stops being hot, I might make a lot of cumulus blouses with all of my Suri. So yeah, it's always just kind of like whatever I'm feeling is how I kind of decide what to make. Yeah. But yes, my list of designs that I want to knit, or list of patterns that I want to knit, is very long. Okay, have you always pursued your passions, or is it something you learn to do as you age? I think this is really interesting because I feel like that definitely, like, a lot of my childhood, like pretty much elementary school through college, I was very like into music. So as I mentioned before, I played flute, and so I took private lessons. I was in youth symphony. I was actually a music major in undergrad, and music was my life. And I loved it, I liked it, but I knew that it wouldn't be like a profession of mine. I just knew that it wasn't something for me to make money from, or like again, for it to be like my like livelihood, like something that is how I make my career, would not be in music, even though I really loved it. And so I really was kind of worried about what I would do for like a job, like once I graduate. But I think after getting a job, making some money, is when I really was like, and even after school, because I was also very like studious and I studied a lot, that after I graduated, I honestly felt a little sad about some opportunities that I may have missed, because I was like, oh, I'm not going to go hang out with my friends because I'm going to study, or I'm not going to go do this activity because I need to study. And even though, I think that has helped me, be a good student, get good grades so that I could get a job and stuff, like there were some things that I wish that I maybe have done that were fun, or that I wanted to, but didn't. So once I graduated and got a job and was making money, I really wanted to do things that made me happy, and that's kind of how ice skating happened for me, because I did start ice skating before I started knitting. Ice skating was when I was little. My dream was to be a figure skater, it's just so funny to think of now, because it was just a dream of mine when I was little, and it just like, it didn't happen, like also being in Hawaii, like I think they actually have a pretty good ice skating program, but it is just Hawaii. It's really hard, to travel for like competitions and stuff on the mainland from there. So like, I don't know how it really would have ended up if I went really hard into ice skating as a kid, but it was something that I've always like dreamed about doing and being. So once I found out, that was like the first thing that I was like, I have the means to pay for my own lessons and get myself to an ice rink and pursue this childhood dream of mine to be an ice skater. So I do think that nowadays I feel like it's something I want to do, like make sure that if I want to do something and that I can, and it's financially like available to me, that I want to pursue my passions. And that's knitting for me now too. So knitting and ice skating. So yeah, it's something I've had to kind of like learn. But yeah, I feel like it happened at a good time for me. So yeah, okay. Next up, what does your podcast setup look like? Do you have any advice on what kind of equipment budding podcasters should look into? Okay, so my podcast setup is very, very kind of like, it's nothing too crazy. So I do have a Canon DSLR camera, but I don't even have a tripod for it. Like I literally just put it on this like plastic container that I have that's just like the perfect height. So that's like my camera situation. For my audio situation, I actually record my audio on my iPhone, on voice memos, just because I think the iPhone or like Apple products just have they tune out background noise a lot better than other microphones that I've tried. So honestly, I think Apple products or like iPhone is the way to go for audio. But also, like, I didn't buy my Canon camera just for the podcast. Like, it's something that I just had from like college, and so I thought I would just use it. But it is kind of annoying that it's probably just the type of camera I have. It stops recording like every 30 minutes, and because I do record longer than 30 minutes, it just stops in random places, which does get annoying. And so that makes editing just like that much more kind of like annoying to like line up and cut out certain things. So honestly, I think if you are like a new podcaster, you could just use your phone. I know other people who do video podcasts who use their iPhone and it looks fine and it sounds fine, and I think that's like a great way to start. The video quality is good, audio quality is good, so yeah, but that is what my podcast setup is. I also don't use any like lights. I just film whenever there's like good sunlight. So yeah, very simple, I feel like, kind of setup for me. And oh, and then as far as notes, I do have my laptop right next to me, like in front of me here for all of my notes. Okay, next question, how do you store your knits? Okay, so right now I just have this this big drawer, and I think there's like 4 drawers in it, or a dresser, I guess. That is how I store all of my knits. And then I also, for my chunkier knits, that would just take up so much, like you could probably just fit 3 of them in one drawer. I do have them in kind of like these bins that I got from like IKEA, and I just have those kind of like on the top because those aren't ones I wear all the time, just because it would have to be especially cold for me to wear some of my bulky knits, and so those are kind of just like up above in my closet in bins. And so yeah, they're just kind of in my dresser drawers, and they somehow for now all fit, which is surprising because I do have a lot of knits. But this dresser that I do have, I actually got it from my sister when she moved back home after college. She had this drawer and she like gave it to me, and I was like, oh, I can store all my knits in there. So right now they're kind of all in there. But after this year, I don't know. I haven't made too many sweaters lately because it's what has been summer, but like once I start making more sweaters, I don't know where they're all going to fit. So it should be interesting. But right now they're just all in drawers. Surprisingly. Yeah, okay. What is the most worn knit in your wardrobe? Okay, I feel like this changes when I knit something that I like. So, I mean, the one thing I can think of right now, cardigans I feel like are definitely one of my most worn like types of knitted objects because you can just put them over anything. So I do think, I'm trying to think of a cardigan, like my Go Gently cardigan by Aimee was well worn when I made it. And then, of course, it got really hot, and so I stopped wearing cardigans. Recently-ish, my Straya cardigan has been getting a lot of wear. When it was colder, my birch pullover got a lot of wear. I love my birch pullover, and so I feel like I did finish it when it started getting warmer this year. So it hadn't had enough time weather-wise for me to wear it, but I think that my birch pullover may be the thing that gets the most wear, even though it maybe hasn't gotten the most worn yet, but it will be, just because I love it so much. So yeah, I would say probably one of those. I really love those. But cardigans in general, I think they're just, for me, the most easiest things to wear because you can put them over other things. Okay. Oh yes, I have another question about how many hours do I knit in a day. I think I've already answered that, so hopefully that helps answer that. Another question about my job, which I've also kind of already answered. What did you dream job when you were young? Okay, so I don't think I really had like a dream job. Like I said, like when I was little, I wanted to be a figure skater, but that's not really a job, I guess, unless. Well, yeah, so I didn't really have a dream job. When I was in high school, when I was applying for colleges, I thought I was going to be a physics major because I wanted to do astrophysics. I wanted to do astronomy. But then I took a physics class and I knew it wasn't for me. And then I somehow made my way over to computer science. So I don't think I really had a dream job, to be honest. I just got really lucky with my journey through college on my eventual major. Oh, okay. So Maddie Made Crafts asked me. Also, I didn't want to say a lot of people's names in the questions just in case you didn't want to mention your name. So just to be safe, I didn't. But Maddie Made Crafts says her and her mom will be going to Rhinebeck this year. Will you be going as well? I unfortunately will not be going to Rhinebeck this year. It is something that I've thought about, but there's just kind of a lot of logistics. Honestly, for me, traveling is makes me a little anxious, and so I do need a lot of time to like plan and think about it, and it just didn't seem like this year was going to be the year. I do eventually want to go to Rhinebeck, but so maybe it's a thing I go to next year, but unfortunately won't be going to this year. Okay. Oh, I got another question about how do I store my yarn. Again, just in drawers for now because they somehow still all fit in my drawers. How did you start knitting? Again, the initial start was in elementary school and then picked it back up in 2020. If you could only knit with a commercial yarn, what would that brand be? I think Line Brand would probably be right now what I would say because it is when I first picked up knitting again, like in 2020, I used a free pattern where the yarn that they used was a Line Brand yarn, and so I just got that yarn so I could match the pattern so that I could get the exact same result as like the pattern and how it looked. And I really have enjoyed Line Brand yarn, and when I do want like a commercial yarn, I will look on the Line Brand website, and so there's that. Also, Knit Picks, I think, has a lot of yarn that is good, and for me, a lot of bare yarn that's good as well. They have a lot of different bases. So, Knit Picks, and then I also, Webs, yarn.com, I think that's another place where I have bought some other more like commercial yarn from. Hope that answers that question. If you were to knit only with one color for the rest of your life, what would that be? Okay. If it had to be one color, I mean, pink is my favorite color. So I want to say pink. Could it be different shades of pink? Does that count? Or does it have to be literally only one color, one shade? Because if that were the case, I may be tempted to say something that's more neutral. No, but that might get boring. I would say pink. We'll just say pink because that's my favorite color. Okay, another question about work. How can I knit faster? Okay, so for me personally, switching to continental knitting helped me knit faster. But I have seen people who knit English style. Also, I'm so sorry if that's like the wrong terminology for when you're holding the yarn with your right hand, but I have seen people knit really fast that way as well. So I would probably just maybe try different techniques on whichever way that you're currently knitting. But I think in general, a lot of people say continental knitting helps people knit faster, but it's not the only way to knit faster. Just for me personally, continental knitting did help me knit faster. What has been your favorite make so far to make, and is it the favorite to wear? Okay. I did have to think about this because I do think things that I like to make have been my favorite things to wear because I really like wearing my knitted things. So if I'm really excited about knitting it, I'm just really excited about wearing it as well. I've had to take a look at like the previous things that I have knit. So let's see. Oh, okay. The one thing that maybe is surprising, maybe not surprising, I absolutely love my Manhattan hat, which is a beanie pattern by Tori Knits, Tori NYC, Tori Knits NYC. I love my Manhattan hat, specifically my Manhattan hat bulky. That thing I enjoyed to knit. I think it's just because it was really fast. I think I finished knitting the bulky version in a night, and then I pretty much wore it non-stop until it was way too hot for me to wear a beanie. But even when it was warm, I was like, I'll just wear a beanie, it's fine. Like, I love that hat, and I cannot wait for it to get colder for me to wear it again and also to make more of them. There's something about it that I just really, really like. So, yeah. But as far as like sweaters go, maybe, the one thing that stands out to me that I really enjoyed knitting was my Go Gently cardigan by Aimee Sure. There was something about that pattern that just was so enjoyable. And I have also made another pattern by Aimee Sure that I loved. I don't know what it is, but there is some kind of, the process of making both of those patterns by Aimee Sure. So the Go Gently cardigan, and then I think it was the Ann's puff sleeves. I enjoyed the whole process of making it. I will say I don't wear my Ann's puff sleeves that much, but my Go Gently cardigan, I wore it a ton after I finished knitting it. It's also, I use Suri for that, so, or like, held with another non-fluffy yarn base. I also love my yarn choice for that, so I just love that cardigan. And I remember really, really enjoying making that as well. Okay, so, but also my birch pullover. Maybe this is now where we're like, I love wearing my birch pullover, and making it was like, okay. It was a lot of knitting. I didn't hate it though, but I wasn't like loving knitting it just because it was a lot, but I love my birch pullover. Okay, where are you finding creative inspiration lately? I feel like I generally, maybe this isn't like the most fun answer, but I really like looking through all of my friends' Instagrams and just like following new people on knitting Instagram, because people just have such different, everyone has their own like unique like color styles and like combinations and things, and I really just like enjoy seeing all of these different color palettes that everyone uses and likes and shares, and that's been really fun. And I also just feel, so again, I usually stay indoors and I just knit, like indoors, but I do remember, like sometimes when I do take walks, I do try and take walks around like the neighborhood, sometimes like during lunch breaks, and I do feel just like walking around, looking at the nature that is around where I am is really nice and just feels like calming. And just like, especially during like spring and summer when all the flowers are out, like it's something that is really enjoyable to me. So yeah, something that makes me feel happy and inspired and relaxed and calm, I guess. And maybe more creative, I don't know. I think maybe, yeah. Okay, let's see. Is this your full-time job? I assume the question is knitting my full-time job? It is not, but I do spend all the other time when I'm not working either knitting or ice skating, but knitting definitely takes up more hours than ice skating. But yeah, work and then knitting and then ice skating. Those are all the things that I'm mostly doing on most of my days. Okay, favorite pattern that you've knit? I feel like that could kind of be, yeah, the Go Gently cardigan. Apologies again that I didn't look through these questions more and maybe like sort them so that there were no duplicates, but I figured it would be okay to do it this way. But yeah, Go Gently cardigan is really good. There was something about it that I just really enjoyed, and yeah, now I'm finding it's like really hard to like kind of like split between favorite pattern to knit versus like thing I like to wear, because I'm like, I like my birch pullover, but I wouldn't say it was like my favorite pattern to knit just because it's a good finished object. Also Listria. Oh, Dad Sweater by Emily Curtis. I really like that sweater pattern. That even though I've only made one so far, I do have yarn and plans to make more, and that's another good pattern that I really enjoyed and also really like wearing. It's been too hot to wear sweaters lately, so I did forget about that. Yeah. What else? Favorite pattern? I think that's all I can think of right now. Yeah. And then, oh yes, another question about something I haven't tried in knitting that I'd like to learn. I'm trying to think if there is something else besides steeking that I haven't tried yet. I feel like there is something, and I just like can't think of it. Like, I've tried color work, I've tried brioche knitting. Yeah. There has to be something else. If I'm missing, maybe I'll like talk about it again. If something like, yeah, I mean, the end of my podcasts are always time for chatting, so maybe if I think of it after I film this video, we'll talk about it again. But I think that that's the end of all of the questions. I hope I got to answer everyone's questions. I think that was a lot of fun. Thanks for sending in your questions. Yeah, there's some questions that I just like haven't thought about my knitting, and so it's very cool to kind of reflect on my knitting and like techniques that I haven't learned yet or haven't done yet. And yeah, but right now for my knitting, I'm very much enjoying the spinning and learning about that. And so I feel very like, it makes me feel happy that I'm like, oh, after 1 year of doing my podcast was kind of when I started spinning, because it's just kind of like signals like a new journey, like a new start to a thing. It's really fun. So thank you all again for sending in your questions. Hope you got to learn more about me a little bit and just like my knitting in general. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I am feeling my throat. I can tell when the videos are kind of long because my throat will start feeling a little dry and that I've been talking for a while. But this was a lot of fun, and I am again so sorry that I could not upload the video last weekend, but I feel like this video had a lot of content to hopefully cover for that. And now I think I will go and work on some spinning or work on one of my other, oh no, maybe I will cast on something with my hand spun. I really want to do that because I will probably just love it so much that it's going to make me love hand spun yarn even more. So those are my plans for this weekend. It's also a 3-day weekend, for me at least. I hope you all, if you're in the US, I guess, have a nice 3-day weekend as well. And I hope you get lots of knitting done. Although don't forget to take some breaks and stretch, because even though I do knit a lot, I have been a lot more, I guess, try to make sure that I take breaks, because if you've watched from like the beginning of 2023 was when I started, like, my wrists were starting to feel a little weird. So I do knit a lot, yes, but I do try to take some breaks here and there and do some stretching to help, and I've been okay so far. But just because things are feeling okay doesn't mean you stop doing stretching and taking breaks. So hope you get lots of knitting done, but make sure you take some breaks. And as always, let me know in the comments down below what you've been working on while watching or listening to this podcast. I would love to know. And if you would like, you can follow me on Instagram. It's at arieknits, same name as this podcast. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, feel free to subscribe to if you would like. I do try to post every Sunday, as long as I can film on Saturdays. It's been a busy summer, I feel like, and so there has been a few times where I've had to upload every other week instead of every week. But hopefully we can get back to a more normal weekly schedule. But that is kind of like the normal plan, is to have episodes uploaded on Sundays. And yeah, I hope you all have a great day, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye!